Welcome back to a long time ago, our countdown of the best Star Wars TV series and films. We are on to our top five finally.
Adam needs to go to bed.
I'm going to go straight in there. My number five is your number six. It's Clone Wars. And do you know what? Most of this is because I thought Series 7 was that good.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I really got into Series 7. I thought it was really good. The animation was like a slight improvement. Not that it was bad before, but I just, yeah, it was good. Really good stuff.
Did you not think it's I genuinely I like season 7, but I thought the last part four-parter, sorry, with the Ahsoka going to Mandalore was excellent. It was top tier Clone Wars. But I didn't really like the first two arcs. I thought the Bad Batch arc wasn't that great, and I really just liked the Ahsoka and a gang sort of going off and stealing spice.
Now that I say that, I'm trying to think of how, because again, I don't think I've seen it all.
No, I think to be honest with you asked me, and I said,
Yeah,
"Is it worth watching?" I said, "Honestly, if you haven't got much time, watch the last four-part arc, which is the business end."
yeah. See, I think you might be right. I think I might have just gone straight in at those four, but I remember those being excellent. So
yeah,
but that's not all that comes down to it. There's so much more beforehand that we see, which is just enjoyable, good stuff, all good stuff. So yeah. Your number five?
Number 5, episode 4, A New Hope.
Okay.
The one that started it all, I guess. I have I have many memories of growing up with this film. Obviously, it introduces to the world of Star Wars, the characters, the spaceships, the planets. Just the mysticism, I suppose. It's just I wouldn't say I don't want to use the phrase least favorite of the original trilogy, even though it obviously is, because it's number 5 and I haven't mentioned the other two yet.
Yeah.
But I don't want to diminish it at all, because it is such a good film. It's just that it's a film that was made on a very small budget, with hardly any resources to do anything with, but it managed to do something absolutely epic in scope, and something that had never been done before, and arguably never been done since.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I think
for what it did, it was a phenomenon, and I'm sure as you mentioned, your dad's mentioned before, it was such a phenomenon at the time, that it sort of made, I think I saw a documentary once where America was in the doldrums at the time because the Vietnam War had just ended, and this came out and it kind of refreshed American psyche, and it got people excited about so it's got so many great scenes. I mean, it's got the trench run scene, it's got the Death Star escape, it's got all the stuff on Tatooine, it's got the cantina, it's got it's got so much great stuff. It's got introduction of Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan giving us all the hints about his past and Luke's father, and it's got all these little threads. It does all those things that The Force Awakens did, but it actually follows up on them. It's such a good film, really good. I don't want to go too long into it because I've got a lot to say about so much next films.
Yeah.
So I think
I've covered a lot of that as well.
Yeah. I think I feel bad just quickly not saying too much about A New Hope, because it is the film that, as I said, started it all. But what can I say that hasn't already been said about it? Let me just leave it like that. So Adam, your number 4.
My number 4 is Return of the Jedi. Oh,
no. Hey, look, top 5, right? As far as I'm concerned, you can't have a wrong entry in the top 5, because it's the top 5.
People are going to disagree. People are going to disagree, but
of course they are.
Return of the Jedi, such a good film. Such a good film. where to start. I mean, it's exciting. It's a good story. There are good vehicles in it throughout. It's just fun. I do think if it wasn't for the Ewoks, it might have made it even higher in my list.
Oh, you're so mainstream.
Maybe I am. Maybe I am. But yeah, it's there's Emperor, there's Vader, almost at the peak of his powers. Really, it's and then obviously Luke getting up to strength on his and becoming the Jedi Knight like his father before him, and yeah, it's just great. It's a great film. Do you want to move
Yep.
to your number 4?
Yes, my number 4, Rogue One.
Okay.
When I watched Rogue One for the first time at the cinema, and I saw this one, I think 8 times at the cinema. Each time I loved it even more. I mean, it felt like you were watching a film that George Lucas had made a couple of years after he'd made A New Hope. I mean, the aesthetic, the design, the outfits, the storyline, the characters, everything feels like it was made in 1977 or 1977.
Yeah.
And that's obviously been done on purpose because it takes place literally the day before, a couple of days before A New Hope. So
it leads up to it,
exactly,
to the point
and
of it.
That's right. And I think they could have gone, they could have tried to have some flourishes here or there, and I'm so glad they didn't. I'm so glad that they kept it, the aesthetic, exactly as it should have been. I mean, where do I start with this film? The story is excellent. We've always wondered on the opening call of A New Hope, a band of rebels have stolen the plans for the Death Star. I can honestly say I thought as a kid, that sounds interesting. I wonder when we're going to find out about that. And I think they did a really good job. There's 2 versions of a Rogue One. There's a version that Gareth Edwards directed, and there's a version that Gareth Edwards directed with Tony Gilroy. I think it was Tony Gilroy, because Gareth Edwards was asked to, here you go, Gareth, go on, make us a Star Wars war film in the vein of Saving Private Ryan. And the story is that he came back and he, showed a rough cut of this film, and it was so hardcore that the execs at Disney and Lucasfilm were like, okay,
maybe not.
This needs to be a bit more Star Warsy. So they brought Tony Gilroy in. I think it was Tony Gilroy, and he sort of did some rewrites and they did some reshoots, and they kind of tightened it up a bit more. But if you go back and you watch the original trailer that first came out for Rogue One, half the trailer contains scenes that you don't see in the film.
Oh, right.
Just little thing for you to do if you remember, and it's really interesting because a lot of these scenes look really cool. There's loads of Vader scenes that never appeared.
Okay.
So we're never going to see that cut, but it'd be great. But anyway, the cut we did see, I'm going off on a tangent. It was absolutely brilliant. Seeing Vader again, seeing Grand Moff Tarkin, seeing Leia. Okay, the CGI on Leia was a bit but again, doesn't take me out of it. I'm not going to sit here and go, it ruined the film for me. I thought it was brilliant. I loved going back to Yavin 4 to see the Rebel base, seeing Mon Mothma again, and Genevieve O'Reilly, who played Mon Mothma in Revenge of the Sith, but in the deleted scenes that obviously weren't put in the film, but it's the same actress all these years later, who we'll be seeing again in Andor. So that was great. Cassian Andor was brilliant. K2SO was absolutely brilliant. That's how you get a new droid in Star Wars, right?
Yeah,
Alan Tudyk, absolutely brilliant. Hilarious.
Really good. Yeah.
The behind the scenes things that we saw, really showed that the actors seem to really love making it. The space battle above Scarif, the battle on Scarif. I mean, I can, if I'm at a loose end and I want to just fill 40 minutes, I'll I'll happily watch all of Rogue One, but what I'll do is I'll go to the beginning of the Battle of Scarif where they're landing and they set off all the explosions all around the base.
Yeah.
And then that's when the battle kicks off. And I'll happily sit and watch that for 40 minutes up until, the Death Star turns up and Vader takes out of all the rebels on the ship. I'll happily sit and watch that for 40 minutes and on a daily basis if I could do. I love that 40-minute section so much. Seeing Saw Gerrera again, who was a character who originated in the Clone Wars. So another thing they brought back in from the Clone Wars, what was Jeddah, the planet Jeddah, where they obviously had some kind of Jedi worshipping that used to happen there, because of all of the big statues that had been knocked down by the Empire and the thieving of the Kyber crystals to power the Death Star, the explanation of how the rebels were able to destroy the Death Star so easily. Yeah, I mean, again, this is one of those ones that I could go on and on and on. There's not a thing I don't like about this film.
No. Did Dave Filoni have any influence on this film at all?
One thing I've heard or read about is Dave Filoni doesn't necessarily come in and interfere, but a lot of creatives now will perhaps show what they've got to Dave Filoni or ask Dave Filoni. I mean, I know Rian Johnson did for The Last Jedi. Obviously didn't listen hard enough. I know for a fact that obviously he gets special thanks in the credits for the Obi-Wan series, doesn't he? From the director, Deborah Chow. So I'm sure he probably had a lot to do with that. And I know that, he was on set for Rogue One because I've seen pictures of him on set at Rogue One. And I know there's some background. You can see Chopper from Rebels and you can see the Ghost, the ship that the Rebels use in Rebels. That's in the background. So, I think, he probably did a little bits to do with the film, but I don't think he probably had any input on story or anything like that. He probably just was asked for ideas, maybe to do with certain things. I don't know.
Yeah. So that's your number 4.
Number 4, yeah.
Rogue One. Number 3 for me, Mandalorian. Should it be this high up my list? I don't know, but it is.
It's your personal choice.
It is, yeah. It's got great characters. It's got you've said it all before in the last episode. It's got such good characters, good story. It's well put together. It's just, and it's still going. That's the thing, and it's brought hope on. It's brought us, like you. I think you said it already. It's it hasn't fixed the sequels, but it's made us a bit more, I don't know,
understanding.
And I don't know, even if it's helped us to forget the sequels and know that there's still good content coming out.
Yeah.
I think that's more the point. So that's my number 3, Mandalorian.
Cool. Yeah. Right, my number 3 is Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
At number 3?
Number 3, yeah. I love this film. Now, I have a
I can see why you were annoyed with me putting it in at number 8 then.
8's not bad. I thought you'd put it lower than that, to be honest with you. But 8, again, 8's not bad. Out of 18, is it? You can't say that's a bad position for it. But for me personally, now I saw this one at the cinema 7 times, and I love this film so much. I absolutely love it. Now I've got this really weird thing, and lots of people commented that it's really weird, but whenever the bad guys win in a movie or a TV show, I'm always team bad guy. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter what property it is. I always think the bad guys are the best characters. So when I see films like The Empire Strikes Back or Revenge of the Sith, I always seem to lean more towards them because I always want the bad guy to win. It's like when I'm watching a TV show and I could probably name many, many TV shows where it's been running for several seasons and eventually the big bad's going to get defeated by the heroine or the hero of that series. there's always this little part of me. It's like, oh, can't they lose? Oh, I want the bad guy to win. And
Yeah.
it's just I always find that more interesting. So when they actually do have the bad guys win
Yeah.
in a show, it will always go up a notch for me in terms of thinking, yeah, this is good. So that's one minor reason why I think Revenge of the Sith is a great film. Of course, we always knew that the bad guys were going to win because we know where the story goes. But
Yeah.
The deliciously Machiavellian evilness of Ian McDiarmid in this film, his cackles and I just love him in this film. I think he's absolutely brilliant. I think the Order 66 scene is one of the most beautiful and but at the same time painful scenes to watch in film. I think it, if you're a Star Wars fan and you love the Jedi and okay, you have to love the prequels. I understand that, but you've watched these 3 films and all of these characters, even if they're side characters like Kit Fisto or Ki-Adi-Mundi or Plo Koon, any of these minor Jedi that you again, more depth, a lot more depth given to them in the Clone Wars. I hate to keep harking on about it, but they are. But when you see these guys to this haunting John Williams music being taken out by the clones who they fought alongside for 3 or so years, I think it's one of the greatest scenes in Star Wars. I love it so much. I think Disney know that, because all of a sudden everything that comes out at the moment is having Order 66 scenes, the Bad Batch, Obi-Wan. I think it is quite a pivotal moment in Star Wars. I think the lightsaber battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin is absolutely operatic. I think it's amazing. I think it's one of those Star Wars films that looks stunning and beautiful, and I'm sure when we edit this together, we'll do what we normally do, and we put some pictures up while we're talking about it. And I've picked out some pictures for this film that just show the quality in CGI that what's this film now? It's nearly 20 years old, or just under 20 years old, and it still looks better than some of the stuff that comes out today. The cinematography, is, and I know it's all green screen, but it looks so beautiful. I mean, the scenes on Mustafar with the volcanic, explosions going in the background. The stuff on Polis Massa, the stuff on I can't remember the planet that some of the planets, but it just looks beautiful. Again, I talk about the soundtrack again. It's got one of the greatest tracks in Star Wars, Battle of the Heroes, that takes place between Obi-Wan and Anakin when they're fighting, and also Yoda against Darth Sidious, which at the time I never expected to see. I had lots of expectations for the film, but the first time I went to see it, I was like, oh, he's fighting Yoda. I'd never expected. I didn't think that was going to happen. So, and to see the Emperor throw the Senate chambers or the Senate pods at Yoda, it was kind of a symbolic scene of destroying democracy. Does that make sense? He's now the Emperor, and he's destroying democracy by throwing, where all the senators would have sat. And but I'm really, really looking forward to, because we've seen a scene in the Andor trailer of the Senate building. So, that'd be quite interesting for that. I mean, the space battle above in the atmosphere of Coruscant at the beginning, it's George Lucas asked the animators to throw everything in, including the kitchen sink, and they did. There's a small moment where you can actually see a kitchen sink flying across the screen. They actually added that in. It's very small, but it's there. The fight on General Grievous's command ship between them and Dooku is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, Dooku trying to tempt Anakin to the dark side, and Palpatine telling Anakin that he's too dangerous to be kept alive. But then flash forward to the film when Mace Windu has Palpatine, up against the window, and he's got his lightsaber, and Mace Windu repeats the line, "He's too dangerous to be kept alive." Again, that was done on purpose. That's symbolic. That's to show that Anakin doesn't think there's any difference between the Jedi and the Sith. So why shouldn't he join the Sith? This is what I mean. People take the prequel sometimes and they don't look into it quite as much as I do, and they don't look at the dialogue in quite in depth as I do. But anybody who watches this, and there's probably not going to be many of you, but there's a YouTuber out there called, and I'm gonna give him credit for this, called Cinema Wins, and he basically picks films and he talks about only positives in the films.
Okay.
And he talks about all of the Star Wars films, all 9 of them, and anybody who's on the fence about the prequels, please watch them, especially the Revenge of the Sith episode that he does. I think each one's 20 minutes, and he gives a concise and really, really in depth and intelligent reasoning for why the film works, and why he thinks it's great. And I don't disagree with anything he says.
Well, I'm sure you've covered a lot of his points.
I mean, some of the points are my own, but that last one about the dialogue, that was one thing I'd never noticed after hundreds of viewings. It's something that I never picked up on. So and that's the other thing great about Star Wars in general, is you watch it perhaps for the first time, and it's great. You watch it for the 100th time and you still notice things that are new. So yeah, I mean, I could go on about Revenge of the Sith for a lot longer, but Adam's looking at me like,
we need to get this moving on now. Well, that does, that leaves us the top 2, doesn't it? So
top 2.
Number 2 is Empire Strikes Back for me.
Interesting.
Yeah, which you've obviously figured out what my number 1 is there.
So, interesting.
We'll get into that. Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, it's of the original trilogy. Well, of all the main trilogy films, it's the best one for me. Trying to put my finger on why. I don't know whether it just brings back amazing childhood memories, or watching it with my dad and just it being awesome. I don't know.
Yeah.
The planets that we visit, and also almost going back to that point that you made on the bad guys winning, because the bad guys come out of that on top at the end of the day, don't they?
Yep.
Which you always think is quite unusual. You don't see it very often.
No.
So it made for a pretty amazing ending as well. But yeah, just scenes inside this film, like characters that we see being on Hoth and all the other planets. Just the opening for the film was awesome.
Yeah, it's a great film.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm sure you're going to come onto it right now. Oh wait, no.
Number 2 for me,
go on.
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Return of the Jedi is a brilliant film. They're all brilliant films, otherwise it wouldn't be in the top 10. But Return of the Jedi is the perfect end to a 6-part saga. If you watch, as I mentioned it before, but if you watch episode 1 to 6, 6 ties it off with a bow. Mm-hmm. And a big tick. It's just brilliant. I love. There's nothing I don't like about Return of the Jedi. I'm trying to think of anything I could criticize it for. I can't. The soundtrack's great. The characters, their storylines coming full circle, and the culmination of the 3 movies is brilliant. The first 40 minutes where they're on Jabba's palace trying to rescue Han is a movie. It's a little mini movie in itself. It's kind of like an adventure, a little adventure story where the heroes try to rescue their friend from the evil, vile gangster. That you could almost take that part out of it, and you actually then, after that's finished, you get to the meat of the story after that. But that first 40 minutes, I love all of that. I think Jabba's palace is great. I think the sail barge fight is fantastic. They fixed Boba Fett getting knocked over like a chump, so that's all good. You then get to Yoda. Luke going back to Dagobah to see Yoda again to complete his training, but Yoda's finally reached his age, he's reached the end, he can't go anymore, and he becomes one with the Force. But he tells Luke that he has one last trial before he can become a Jedi, and he must kill his father. You've got Luke not understanding why he's got to kill his father, and Obi-Wan telling him he's more machine now than man. And again, this is all extra stuff that we get context for from the Obi-Wan series now. So I haven't watched Return of the Jedi since the Obi-Wan series, but I feel like when I watch it now, those scenes are going to hit harder than they did before, because there's going to be more context behind them. You've got Luke finding out Leia's his sister, and obviously we know that from the but it's just another great moment of tying everything together. You've got the introduction for us as original trilogy kids of the Emperor, who of course for newbies to Star Wars, they'll know who he is, but to us at the time, he was just, again, the most evil person we'd ever seen in our lives. Is now even still, but
Vader does a pretty good job of it to begin with, doesn't he? And then,
he does. Yeah,
him taking over.
You've got Vader coming. You've got Vader coming to the realization that he's just there to make up the numbers now. He's weak. He's weaker in this film. He knows that the Emperor wants Luke to become his new apprentice, and he wants him to kill him. And you've kind of got Vader in that fight scene knowing that his master, after all these years, wants him to be defeated. So when Luke does use the dark side after Vader threatens to turn Leia to the dark side instead, he uses the dark side to defeat Vader. It's the only way he can. And the look on Luke's face of pure hatred when he's chopped his hand off, is just a powerful moment. And when he looks down at his own hand and the fact that Vader's mechanical hand was missing, and if he carries on down this path, he'll become Vader. But he chooses the light, and he throws his lightsaber away, and he says, "I'm a Jedi like my father before me." One of the most powerful moments in Star Wars, the culmination of the Skywalker saga, where Vader finally, because of the love for his son and remembering, Padme, and all of the things that he sacrificed in his life, he throws the Emperor over the down the whatever the exhaust port, and finally turns back to the goods. But in doing so, obviously sacrifices himself. It's absolutely fantastic, fulfilling the destiny that he had prophesized. And seeing the scene at the end where the three Force ghosts appear, Yoda, Anakin, and Luke, and again, controversially, people don't like the fact that they changed it to Hayden Christensen, but I think it's perfect. It had to be Hayden Christensen to come in, because that was how he was when he was good. And it ties the trilogies together, it ties the saga together.
I feel sorry, just to butt in there, but I feel like it should have stayed as Sebastian Shaw. As I think that's him as he died, and he'd become good at that point. So I don't see why they needed to change it, really. But I think that's my opinion.
I mean, if it hadn't changed, I wouldn't be bothered. But I do prefer Hayden Christensen, in my personal opinion. The Battle of Endor, everyone moans about the Ewoks, but George Lucas based the Ewoks on the Viet Cong, and how a group of freedom fighters, if you like, or people with no powerful weapons like the American military had, managed to completely defeat the Americans in Vietnam. He used that as an allegory for the Ewoks, so that they used sticks and stones, but were able to defeat a technologically advanced and superior
troopers
force.
Couldn't shoot straight, but we won't get into that.
No, they're stormtroopers. I mean, that's explained in the Bad Batch.
They have weapons. So.
So
amazing.
It's a great film, and it's a film that throughout my childhood I watched countless times, and through adulthood I'll stick it on.
Still watch. It's fair enough. So number one, we're at number one. I was going to move you on because I'm sure you're going to have a lot to say about Empire. Number one's Rogue One for me. It's just brilliant. I can't think of a bad character in it, a bad scene. I say that there's one character that I just didn't think much of, which was the British guy right at the beginning who meets Andor. He's not in it for very long. He dies.
No, yeah,
I think. From memory, I'm pretty sure he dies.
yeah.
Other than that, I cannot fault the film, and I think it just leads into the original trilogy with perfection. Vader comes in at the end, which is just almost everything you've been waiting for, like, but you didn't realize you were waiting for it.
Yeah, no. One thing I didn't mention when I brought up Rogue One was that amazing scene where director Krennic goes to Mustafar and we see his castle for the first time, and you see him in the Bacta tank. I mean, again, that's something we never thought, was it, years ago, that we'd ever see that, and it was just amazing.
Yeah. So, like, just it's just a brilliant film. It's absolutely by far the number one Star Wars film for me.
Yeah, good choice. Good choice.
Yeah. But like we've said before, this top 10 could quite easily move around.
I mean, my top 5 are so, I mean, the way I've waxed lyrical about the Clone Wars series, thinking about, I'm already thinking, well, maybe that should have been higher.
It should have been,
yeah, because I love that series so much.
Right, you got 5 minutes to tell me about Empire.
5 minutes, right? Okay.
And I'll tell you what, one day you can just film yourself and we'll put it out there for everyone that can be bothered to listen.
I'll try to be quick. I said right in the first ever episode we did to this that this was the film that my uncle had to buy for me because he was getting sick to death of renting it every week. It wasn't the first Star Wars film I obviously saw, but it was the film that started it all for me. It was, to this day, and is still the film I've seen the most. It takes what A New Hope started and exponentially enriched it in terms of scope, character development, story complexity, lore, humor. I mean, everything. It just took it to a new level. It took it to a level where if I could have been one of those people in 1977 who queued up for A New Hope when Empire came out, I would have gone in and said, oh my god, they've done it again, but 10 times better. It was directed brilliantly by Irving Kershner. I mean, everything about it, the Battle of Hoth, asteroid field chase, the Bespin lightsaber duel between Luke and Darth Vader. Again, that's an emotional lightsaber fight.
I did forget to mention that when I was talking about it. Actually, almost one of the biggest twists in cinema history.
Oh, I mean, without doubt. I mean, if not the biggest twist in cinema history. Today, people still talk about it in top 5 lists, don't they, of biggest twists. I don't remember I was so young, I don't remember the first time I heard the twist, so I don't remember my reaction to it because I was probably very young when I saw it. But it doesn't, even every now and again I'll watch that scene and the "I am your father" will give me goosebumps. Because it's that good. The training on Dagobah, Yoda pretending to be this silly little frog guy until Luke puts 2 and 2 together and realizes, that he's actually Yoda, the Jedi Master, and then you see Yoda become the wise Jedi Master throughout the rest of the time he's there. You've got Obi-Wan appearing for the first time as a Force ghost, which is something new for us Star Wars fans, and something that
probably something new
exciting
in cinema as well. Like, just see something along those lines.
The soundtrack, the romance between Han and Leia was brilliant, witty, snappy dialogue. It was, the comedy, scruffy looking nerf herder, the everything. The asteroid field chase. I mean, how good is that asteroid field chase? Lando being introduced for the first time. What a great character. Vader torturing Han so Luke can feel it in the Force to get him to come to Bespin. The Luke and Vader talking through the Force at the end of the film, Luke, father, son, Luke accepting that he's his father. And finally, perhaps you could argue that Vader finally, for the first time since the Obi-Wan series, remembering that he's Anakin Skywalker by calling Luke son, because if he was Darth Vader, he wouldn't call him son. So, this is the start of Vader, starting to come back to the light, which is why Luke in Return of the Jedi can sense there's good in him, and the Emperor hasn't driven it from him fully. I mean, I'm going to leave it there because you can tell my passion for all of the last. I think the whole top 10. I think my passion probably has come across, and there's so much to like in each of the top 10 of my list. I love all of them, and I'd put them all at number one if I could. But
you speak so passionately about it. It's just, I'm sitting here just grinning because my descriptions of all the films have just been like, it was quite good. It was really, this. But when you speak about it, you go into so much more detail. You can tell how much more like enthusiastic you are about it. Or like,
I mean, there's one thing I want you to watch for me. It's called Empire of Dreams. Anybody who hasn't seen it, it's on YouTube. I
might have seen it actually.
It's a 2.5 hour documentary about the making of the original trilogy, and it's absolutely brilliant documentary. I can't recommend it enough. It has so much great stuff about the making of those films and all the actors and the special effects artists, the struggles that George Lucas had to go through. So, I would highly recommend that. And I just want to, maybe you can edit this bit into the Return of the Jedi bit, because there's one bit that I want to mention that I didn't talk about Return of the Jedi. I won't be very long. The space battle over the Battle of Endor. That film is 40 years old next year. That space battle to this day exceeds and even equals the effects, in my opinion, and the amazing choreography than any film has ever done since, as far as I'm concerned. I would be hard pressed to pick, and I watch all sci-fi that comes out pretty much. I'd be hard pressed to think of a space battle that equals that space battle in the Return of the Jedi, in the Battle of Endor, in terms of choreography, drama, etc. What I just said. I really wanted to mention that because it's one of my favorite moments of Star Wars, that whole battle. So I'm sorry it's out of order, but
that's fair enough.
Maybe you can do your
we'll leave it there. It's absolutely fine.
But I've really enjoyed doing this. It's something I've wanted to do for years.
It's brilliant. It's worked out. It's good.
Now,
that's it. That is it. That's our top 18 films and series of Star Wars canon, minus Resistance, right?
Minus Resistance. And if anybody disagrees or has any comments about any of the things we've said or the order we put them in, please put them in the comments below, because I am genuinely interested to hear different opinions.
And everyone's got their own opinion. So
of course they do.
There's nothing wrong with that. So
absolutely, there's nothing wrong with it as long as the prequels are really high.
I don't know about that. Okay, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll catch you next time.
Cheerio.
Bye.